Hello, digital artists. This video is for anybody interested in using a raster drawing program to create their historical heroes project. Uh, this is specifically, today I'm going to demonstrate how to use it, Kleki and Google Draw to create this artwork, but you could follow these same steps using Adobe Photoshop or Krita. The steps are, I'm going to begin by focusing on creating the shaded portrait using the digital painting software Kleki. Then I'm going to take that drawing and I'm going to add it to a Google Draw document, add a background and text. Unfortunately, Kleki does not let you use text, so you do need to use Google Draw for that last piece. So with that, let's get into this step-by-step tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new document. When you're making a new document, you want this to be a pretty large file size. It may default to something like 800 or 600. You want to make sure that these are nice and big. So I like 2000 pixels wide by 1000 pixels high. This just makes sure it is big enough for your artwork. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set a background color to something neutral other than white. This will just help you out when you're working. You can actually see what you're drawing. Remember, you can zoom in and out. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go and find my picture. I have way too many pictures on my computer, so it may take me a minute to find this photo. So please bear with me. All right, so I found my photo. The key thing with this photo is it has mainly just the head and shoulders. I don't want too much other tiny information. And the other nice thing is that the face fills the whole frame. Now I'm going to just move it, find it, and I filled my whole picture frame with that photograph. The next thing I'm going to do, remember when you import a new picture, it actually opens it up as a new layer. So I like to actually just go in and label my layers to begin with. So I'm going to just label this one as photo. And I'm going to take that other layer, that layer 3, I'm going to move it underneath the photo, on top of the photo. Then I'm going to rename that layer 3. For some reason, I had a little bit of an issue with this. I'm going to rename layer 3 as outline because I'm going to actually be doing this artwork in using 3 main layers. One layer for the outline, one layer for the color, and one layer for the shading. So I want 1, 2, 3 layers and a background. Color, color, and one more layer, shading. And then I'll just change that one to say background and hit rename. Click. Done. So next I'm going to make sure I'm on my outline layer. I want to actually pick a color that I don't see in the artwork. I want something big and vibrant that'll show up and I can see from across the room. I just now realized I have my layers in the wrong order, so I'm going to move my outline layer above the photo layer here so that I can actually see what I'm working on here. Let me erase this bright green shenanigans here. Move that up top, turn the photo back. So I want the outline above the photo. But you can really see how that bright green shows up against the background. That's what I want. I want a color that I can see from far away so I know what I've missed, what I've not. Next, I'm going to choose a hard brush. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to start to, let me shrink this brush size down a little bit here. I'm going to start to outline each shape. And I'm going to do the hair. I'm going to go over the eyes. I'm going to do the ears. I'm going to do every little individual part. I'm going to convert into an outline. I think now I'm just going to I'm going to speed up the recording and let you guys just watch. So there's no reason to kind of go through this. So the key here is I'm just outlining all of the shapes, even some of those inside shapes like the wrinkles and the shade. No, I messed up, so I erase. The key thing in this process, and I'll go into that. eyes. The two buttons that I press a lot, I keep going back and forth between the brush tool and the eraser tool, the brush tool and the eraser tool. The shortcut to go to the brush tool is B, and the shortcut to go to the eraser tool is E. So you literally can just keep going B, E, B, E. Now I'm going in and adding some of those wrinkles. I erase, adding that little pupil, some texture lines in the eyebrow. I'm going to go down and do the mouth. So you're starting to see, because I used green, it's very easy to see from far away. Next, I'm going to extend and kind of do the same thing, that same process for his clothing. And I'll even do, I think I called it a teddy bear in this video, but I forgot. It's actually a stuffed lion. So now you can kind of get a sense that I've got the whole thing. I'm just going to go in and add a few texture lines into the hair. Now I can double check that I've got everything by turning the photo layer on and off. Now let's slow down the video so I can kind of go over a little bit of what's going on next. I have this bright green outline and I need to turn it into a black and white. So to do that, first let me just save. I'm going to go to this, I'm going to make sure I'm on my outline layer, and I'm going to go to this tab called brightness or hue and saturation. And I'm going to turn the saturation all the way down. And now you can see it totally removed that bright green and it made it just black and white. That is what you want. So the nice part is that we use the bright green as a temporary placeholder. I can also make it lighter or darker by adjusting the brightness and contrast of that layer. In this case, I kind of made it just a little lighter for the sake of this video, but just to kind of show you lighter versus darker. I kept with the darker version. So I think that's it for the outline. I have a very good outline. So now we're going to kind of fast forward and get into the coloring part. I want to just make sure I have my layers in the right order. I want the outline on the top. Then I want my color layer below the outline. And then I want shading in between those two. So there's kind of like the order is outline first, shading second, color third, then photo on the very bottom. I think in this video I get it kind of mixed up a little bit and I put things out of order, but again, I just want to make sure they're all in the same spot. So next I'm going to go and start to fill in. I'm basically going to pretend like I'm doing a digital coloring book. I want to start to pick those colors using my brush tool, pick colors from inside of each shape and start to color it in. The nice part about working on separate layers is if you accidentally go over like right here, I think I messed up and just kind of tweaking the opacity a little bit, and I'm just going to change the layer order. Finally, all right, here we go. So now the colors are on top. I'm going to go in, and now I can kind of pick a good color from inside that lip using the Alt button. I press Alt button a lot to click and sample a color that's kind of in the middle of those lips. And then for this case, I'm going to make it less rosy pink. I'm going to kind of choose a color that's a little bit more neutral because I don't want him to look like he's wearing lipstick. Then I'm going to kind of go in and fill in the lips just like I'm coloring. Actually, you know what? Let's just start at this big area in the face and then we'll do the lips second. We'll start bigger and then work smaller. So with a big brush and my a neutral skin tone picked out, it's kind of like an average tone for him. I'm going to start to kind of go in and add tone to the face. And the nice part is, and as you can see, like if I mess up and I accidentally go over the eyebrow here, I can just go in later and just change to my erase tool by pressing E and erasing it. So with that, I'm going to pick up the video a little bit, speed it up, and just go in. The process is I'm going in and just virtually coloring this in. Here I go quickly and just erase. So with that, I'm going to pick up the video. So as I'm working here, I'm going in and I'm sampling color. I'm mainly sticking with the three main colors. I picked kind of an average color for the face. I'm picking one color for the gray, picking one color for the lips. I don't want to go in and go super crazy with sampling multiple different colors. The goal for this first step is literally just to have flat shapes. So I'm picking one color for the lips, one color for the teeth. Even though there's different shades, I'm picking one of those colors. As I'm going around and painting, I'm kind of not too worried about the edge because I can always clean up the edge later. So I do a lot of, I'm pressing B to brush, and then I'm pressing E to erase. So I brush, I go over by accident, then I erase a little. Then I go over by accident, then I erase a little. So I'm just constantly switching back and forth between brush and eraser, brush and eraser. The other thing you're going to notice, especially here in the hair, I'm really paying attention to gaps. So there was a gap right there. There's gaps right here in the eyebrow. And I'm trying to fill in the gaps between the colors. I do not want any clear gaps in my artwork because those clear gaps will mess up, will turn into like glaring differences when you add a background. So even though there's multiple shades of gray in his hair, I'm kind of sticking to one gray, one skin tone, one pink for his lips. And now I'm just going to go in and clean up some of those things in the back, cleaning up the gaps around his eyebrows, cleaning up the neckline. Now I'm going to start to worry about his hair, his clothing, and his stuffed animal. For the sake of this video, I think it might be better to do the coloring for this clothing separate from the coloring of the face. So I made a separate layer for clothing and a separate layer for the teddy bear. This way I can just work on them independently. You're more than welcome to have more layers. It's actually always better to have more layers than less layers. You don't want to be trying to do all of your drawing on one layer. You want to have as many layers as you feel like you need. And whenever you see two objects that are overlapping, it's always nice to just throw them on separate layers. Why not? So here we go. I'm just kind of cleaning up those edges, making sure there are no gaps. I'm just going back and forth, brush and eraser, brush and eraser. Go over a little bit, erase a little bit. Go over a little bit. Starting to look pretty good. Oh, I found a little spot here. I just realized I put some red on the wrong layer. For now, I'm not going to worry about any of that shading, but this is what I've got. I've got my coloring for the face, or I've got outline separate, coloring for the face on one layer, teddy bear on another layer, but I have not worried about any of that shading. I will get into the shadows and the shading going on in the next video because I realize now this video is kind of long, so I'm trying to keep this under 15 minutes for YouTube purposes. Next thing I'm going to do is save my work, and I hope that you will join me for the second part of this video where I get into some shading.